Hello, welcome back to the Sade Fashions channel. We are continuing on with how to start your own clothing line and how to become a fashion designer. In my first video, I actually talked about a little bit about myself and how to start a clothing line. So in this video, we're going to actually talk about how to pick a manufacturer. Like I was telling you in the first video, it's very important to have a manufacturer on your side because you never know what kind of buyer is going to come your way. So you got to make sure that you have the ability to produce how many items that the buyer is requesting for. A lot of department stores will actually request to have a manufacturer set aside. So United States versus overseas manufacturers. A lot of people get confused with the difference between the two. Honestly, the only difference is because one's overseas and one is in the United States. The prices are completely different when it comes to sampling. In the United States, they're a lot more expensive just because it's a lot of our products being used, and it's sometimes kind of hard to get a hold of certain products because a lot of the United States is most of the time not manufacturing their own fabrics. They're actually importing it as well, so that costs a lot of money as well. Instead of going directly to the source where it's actually being imported from, which is overseas, you save yourself a ton of money. Now, the only thing about doing business with overseas is that you have to really worry about being scammed. And I've been doing business overseas for 3 years, and I have not had any problems, thank God, for any scams that I've had. I've had businesses overseas that have closed down that I've been working with, but by doing business, you just have to stay on top of them, and you have to know that this is not a game to them or you, and that you're taking serious about this manufacturing. A good website to find manufacturers is www.alibaba.com, and another one is www.linkedin.com. LinkedIn is great because you can find jobs out there, you can find manufacturers, you can find events, you can find a bunch of things. And I've actually found one of our manufacturers we're working with now through LinkedIn.com. So it's a great tool to use as far as trying to find different manufacturers. When you're doing business with a manufacturer, please do a contract, a written contract, not a verbal contract. It is very important that you do a written contract. If you're in the United States doing business with a manufacturer, most of the time they're going to give you a contract anyway to sign and tell you what they can and can't do, and they'll give you the time limits and when they can complete the product or your order for your buyers. But just make sure that you have everything you want in the contract as well. If you can negotiate with them and tell them, hey, I don't want to give you this amount or whatever, can I give you this, then that's a great way to step in. Overseas, I found dealing with overseas and dealing with the United States, overseas are more accepting to working with you and negotiating with you to get your product because they want to make money. They want to work with U.S. clients. So it's much easier to kind of get them to agree to some of your terms as far as your contract. Now, a lot of the contracts that you do, if God forbid if something does happen with the overseas contract, manufacturing contract, a lot of lawyers will tell you there's nothing they can do just because of the laws are different over there. But again, this is why you want to really gain that trust with your manufacturer. So start off small. Don't just send thousands of dollars overseas, because that is a mistake that I would tell anybody that's just starting off. Negotiate. Usually when I'm dealing with a new manufacturer, what I would tell them, especially overseas, is, hey, I've been in business for so and so long, and I am looking for a sample in this design. So if you make this design for me, after you send me the pictures, I will then send you the money. Because if you at least see the pictures of the design you're trying to get made, at least you will know that they're willing to work with you, because it takes time. Anybody that's a fashion designer knows it takes time to find the fabric and to actually go out and make the design for you. So if you have a manufacturer that says, okay, I'll make this design for you and send you pictures, and you see the pictures of your design, just a sample of it, then that shows that the manufacturer is trying to work with you. And then you go ahead and send them whatever amount it is. But usually I don't send no more than $50 to maybe $150 to our manufacturer at one time, just because I need to see when I get the product, how the product is actually made, if the fabrication is right, to see if they how well the transportation is doing as far as transit. So I need to, all that stuff is accounted for, because whenever you get a buyer to come in, you want to make sure that they're going to be able to produce the amount you want, how you want it, in a decent amount of time. So just negotiate with your manufacturer, no matter whether it's in the United States or and overseas. So just make sure that you find a place that where your business and your manufacturer feels comfortable with moving forward. Now, MOQ. A lot of people ask what MOQ is. A lot of manufacturers use this terminology, and MOQ means minimum order quantity. Most manufacturers require whether it be 25 pieces to 1,000 pieces per design, and that's a lot when you're first starting off. So that's why when you negotiate, you talk to them, say for the first 5 months, I just need 10 pieces or 5 pieces, or just samples made from you guys until I can actually get some more orders coming in. But you need a manufacturer by your side, because if you get a buyer or you get a retail client that really wants your product, you need to be able to produce fast if you are not designing all your things on hand or at your location. Regardless of whether you are designing things at your location, you will still need a manufacturer, because a lot of people that do business want to know that you can produce a decent amount in a decent amount of time. So, and always have one just in case, because you never know who will be coming knocking at your door with your clothing line as your clothing line grows. So if Macy comes knocking at your door asking you to produce 5,000, and you've been doing 2 to 5 pieces in your studio for however long, now you got to go out and do all your interviewing and negotiation and your sampling, which takes weeks to months to actually find a manufacturer that can do all that. So if you don't produce that in a certain amount of time that Macy's is going to need it by, you're just going to miss out on a great opportunity. So make sure you have something like that set aside already. Another great way when dealing with the manufacturer is get a third party. I actually had a third party person for 2 years, and we manufactured a lot of our things in India, and our third party business partner would actually process all of our orders and send them out to my location while I send them to my buyers, which was great because I didn't have to do any of the manufacturing or negotiating and the sampling process. I had somebody doing that for me, and they would actually fly over there and check on the status of the manufacturing part, which was awesome. So that saved me so much time while I was out doing shows and stepping into the market and doing all the other stuff that's needed for the company. I had somebody on my side doing all the legwork. Now, also, when you have a third party, you also need a contract as well. Most third party manufacturers, what they usually do is once they process the order, they'll add maybe $5 or $10, $15 to the original sampling process. And basically, this is how it works. You've designed something, you do a tech pack for it. You send it to your third party person, they review it to make sure they have everything needed to move it forward to the manufacturer. Once the third party gives you the green light, they'll send it to the manufacturer. The manufacturer would then do all your sampling for that one design. Once that one design is done, completed, they will send the design back to the third party person, and the third party person would then send it to you. It's the third party person's job to make sure that those samples are up to standard and up to date the way you have sent it in to them. So that leaves you completely out of the manufacturing process. You're not calling them, you're not contacting them or anything like that. That's the third party's person's job to make sure that everything runs smoothly in operation when manufacturing. So it's a great way to kind of stay out of it. And then how they get paid is if the sample from the manufacturer is $25, they added their fee per sample. So if it's $25 to do a design, they're going to add $10 additional for each design for their services. So it'll be around $30 or $35 for the whole sample, but you're not doing any of the legwork. But I do tell all my fashion designers that are doing this type of style to their business, this operation, is to make sure you still stay on top of it, because it's very important that you stay on top of it, because again, at the end of the day, this is your baby. You are working night and day to make sure that you get this business how you want it. So make sure you just double check things twice, 3 times if you have to make sure this is how you want it and this is how it's going to be processed. It's a good thing. Another good thing is to test out the manufacturer's work. You want to contact a bunch of different manufacturers before you just choose one. So if you test out a bunch of different manufacturers, you're not just limited to just one because you only sent one design to one person. By testing out many manufacturers, you get to choose the one that's the best design or best service or best product for your design. So just keep in mind that. Now, a lot of people probably asking, hey, I sew all my things, I don't need really a manufacturer, or why would I pay for sampling? Well, if you sew all your things, that's great. Now if you do all your seamstress work and you send it locally, which is in the United States, then it's a lot easier to go ahead and send your samples and have them mass produced when it's in the United States. But if you're doing all your seamstress work in your studio and then you are dealing with an overseas manufacturer, I'm here to tell you that's very hard, because now you got to take your sample that you've been doing in your studio, or you've had, and now send it overseas. And if anybody has sent anything overseas, it's expensive. So to send maybe one sample or one design that weighs 4 pounds, you're going to be spending $150 just to send it overseas. When if you would have just had your manufacturer do it originally, it would have been maybe $75 to do the sampling and also ship it to you. So that cuts out a lot of the cost, because now if you have done this the sample part, you have to send it to your manufacturer. So that's $150. Then they have to produce it just like you just did it, which that's going to be another $50 for a salesman sample. Then they got to send it to you. So that's also shipping. So that's about $150 just from the manufacturer side, and then you just spent $150 sending it. So you're rounding off about $300, when originally if you just had your manufacturer do all your sampling, then you could have just only had to pay for the sample process and the shipping. So it cuts it down. But again, you have to find out what works best for you in your business. When you're starting off, you don't need thousands of dollars to start off. You just do a business plan. Sit down and figure out where you want to be and how you want to get your business off the floor running. A clothing line is no different than any other business that you do. You have to really do your research, and you have to really sit down and figure out what works best for you. In the next video, we are going to talk lastly about tech packs and manufacturing. When you're doing a tech pack and doing a manufacturer, sending it to a manufacturer, it's very important that you have one of these, so they're not always doing so many samples to fit this design that you're trying to do. You want to limit the amount of money you're putting into your business by getting it right the first time, having them get it right the first time. If you're not doing your sampling yourself, please, like, make sure you do a tech pack. And even if you are doing the sample yourself, do a tech pack regardless. At least you will have it on board. So if you stay with the manufacturer or go through another one, you can just send your tech pack and they can go ahead and review the tech pack and then move forward with your sample. You get your sample a lot faster and your order goes a lot faster, which your buyers would then love you towards the end. So if you want to stay tuned to how to do your tech pack and send it to your manufacturers, check us out at Sade Fashions Network, and I'll see you then. Thank you for tuning in.